Something good gonna happen in this year.
Welcome to Real Issues Live with Crystal. This is where we have authentic conversations about issues that affect us as a society. Join me as I have different guests coming in to share their take on various topics. I too will share my story of hardship and resilience. Please remember to subscribe, like, comment, but most importantly, share with others so they can be encouraged.
Anything we want, Jaja make it start up. I feel work, sun shine till the place dark out. Couldn't call out. Them I talk about upgradedness, Manalo.
Welcome back to another episode of Real Issues Live with Crystal. Today's guest needs no introduction. She has a very inspiring story. She has inspired a close family member of mine, and I want her to inspire my community as well. Please help me welcome DeanaraeLorraine. Hi, DeanaraeLorraine.
Hi, Crystal.
Wow, you look lovely.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yes, trust me, everything matches in with the team outside. Like you got the memo.
I understood the assignment.
Yeah, really, really good to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know we met as online girlies, but it's really good to actually meet you in person. And trust me, I don't know if I can say this, don't be offended, but the internet does nothing for you. You look very great.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All right, are you ready to get into it?
Yes, I am.
All right, so before we tell them about the accident, I want you to tell them a little bit about your childhood.
Unfortunately, I cannot. Reason being is that I suffer from brain damage from the accident, and so I'm not able to remember people, places, and experiences before January of 2019. So I have no recollection of my childhood besides what my parents have told me or pictures that I've seen and they've explained to me, this is what you do. But persons that have done me wrong before that time, for some reason I can remember who they are and what they did to me, like my bullies in high school, my bullies in prep school. But to tell you that I had a childhood experience and this is what childhood was like for me, I can't remember.
Wow.
Yes.
So a big part of you has been taken away.
My entire life, to be honest with you.
Right.
Because a lot of things that was before is not now, and a lot of persons have said to me it's a whole different person, and I get that, but I thought it was just bits and pieces, but it's literally a whole different personality.
And you know, that's one of the reasons why you're here too, because you're still smiling.
I have
so many so many things has actually been taken away from you, but yet you're here pushing through.
Yes.
So you're the perfect person here. All right, so I don't know if you're gonna be emotional, but I want you to take us back to the night of the accident.
Okay, so I was celebrating my birthday, and what I normally do every year is I celebrate my birthday from May 22nd to June 30. Reason being, I have a lot of different friends, and for some reason my friends cannot come together all at once in the same place to celebrate me. And because I like to be celebrated, because of course it's my birthday, what I do is I celebrate it over a period of time so everybody can fit themselves in based on their schedule. I did nothing different in 2019. And I went to an event in Negril that I've always wanted to go to, but I've never been able to go to. And I was the driver. I drove me and 3 friends to Negril. We didn't drink anything for the entire night because it was in VIP, and at that time, the type of rum that they had, none of us drank it. So we sipped juice the entire night like we were having a ball. Drove to Negril. I drove back to Montego Bay. When I reached to Montego Bay at my roundabout, I said to them, I'm going to drop a friend off in Greenwood. Are you going to come with me, or do I drop you off? Because 3 of us were going the same place.
Right.
And they said they're not allowing me to drive alone. And Crystal, through this entire driving, I didn't feel tired any at all. Until I reached to the roundabout at the airport. I had to stop and I let through a truck. When I let through the truck, it's like a heaviness came over me, like if I continued to drive, I was going to go into a ditch. And so I went around the roundabout and I stopped at the bus stop and I said, I'm tired. We have 2 options. Either I'm going to sleep for a little bit and you wake me up, or somebody's going to drive and when we reach the destination, you can wake me up, because it would be one straight road. We're not turning off to actually drop her home. And my friend that was sitting in the front said to me that, oh, she has driven with my friend in the back, was Chris, and he has his license. And I said to him, have you been sleeping? And he said no. I said to him, do you think you can manage the journey? And he said yes. And we exchanged seats. So he was sitting behind me and we exchanged seats. And I watched him pull out from the bus stop to the first stoplight. And you know when you're just starting to drive, so you pull up way before the stoplight? That was what he did. So I knew within myself, yes, he's driving, but he hasn't been driving very long, but he's very careful.
Right.
I watched him pull up to the second stoplight, which would have been at flanker's stoplight. And I was comfortable to fall asleep and let him drive the way. The next thing, I woke up 2 days later from a coma. So when the accident actually happened, I have no recollection of that.
Right.
My recollection of what happened and what actually happened differs, because then I remember falling asleep at that stoplight.
Right.
The next thing I remember is being pushed on a stretcher, and I was in a hospital, and there was a man to my left and he was in a white coat, so I assumed he was a doctor, and there was a man on my right in a red Oxford shirt. And when I looked at the man on my left, I couldn't see his face. It was a bright light.
Right.
When I look up, it's a bright light and I have to turn my head away. But when I look at my right hand side, I could see the man's face. If I saw him today, I could tell you that's the man I saw on the night of my accident.
Right.
And he was saying, DeanaraeLorraine, you're gonna be okay. DeanaraeLorraine, you're gonna be okay. When I woke up from my coma, they said nothing like that happened. Which is why I keep telling people that I died and I came back.
Right.
There's no tunnel, but there's
Right.
a bright light. So, and I stick to that to this day, because that's my recollection.
Right.
I can't tell you that I saw the car come in. I can't tell you what happened, because that didn't happen for me. And my mother said to me when my accident happened, I called her and told her that I was in an accident. I don't get how I do that, because at the time I was told that my phone was a 10-digit code or my fingerprint. At what point
Right.
do I meet in an accident and I'm able to open my phone to call my mom? But she said she was the one that, I was the one that actually spoke to her and told her I was in an accident, and then the phone hung up.
But you have no recollection
No.
of that?
Of the events of the accident and how it happened. The young lady that was in the front of the motor vehicle, she was the one that saw everything. She was the one that told me what happened. The car that the person hit before our vehicle and the car that was traveling behind us, those persons were able to tell us what exactly happened as well, because the young lady that was beside me was asleep from Negril. So she has no idea what happened until she was pulled out of that motor vehicle.
Wow. So any fatalities from that accident?
Unfortunately, my friend that was driving, Chris, he died.
My condolences again. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's funny because I was blamed a lot for that, and to this day I understand people's grief, because Chris was 21, but I didn't force Chris to drive.
Right.
I asked him, and I didn't have this conversation with God before that, okay, this is gonna happen and you need to switch seats. I didn't do that. And if he was not in a position to be capable to drive, I wouldn't have fallen asleep. I wouldn't have let him drive. And it's unfortunate what happened to him, and I will not sit here and tell you that I understand why everything has happened or why he had to die, because I don't. And I'm still waiting to receive that answer from the universe or God or whoever is supposed to give me the answers. I think that and a lot of other things I probably will never get answered, but I haven't reached to a point where I'm comfortable to accept that reality, because I believe strongly in hope.
Yeah, because I was gonna ask you, how do you get over this? Because you said they wanted to put the guilt on you. So how do you manage to talk yourself into, this is not my fault?
Well, initially, I've never thought it was my fault.
Right.
I tried to understand it from the other perspective, because a child was lost to parents, to brothers, to sisters, and I mean, he was 21 years old. And then what hurt me the most is that before he actually left out for the event, his father told his other friend that, please bring my son home safe. So I felt what they felt, I didn't feel guilty about it.
Right.
I didn't force him to do it. I did give everybody an option. When I reached, I said, are you going to come with me or should I drop you home?
Right.
And they said they're going to come with me.
Right.
When I asked him if he's okay to drive, he said, yes, he's okay to drive. And he wasn't that type of giddy driver like, I'm getting the opportunity to drive and I want to drive. No, he actually thought about it before he answered me. He asked me how far he was going to drive to and if he had to turn off before he actually got into the driver's seat.
Right.
So I empathize with them, and I mean, the young lady that was in the accident, the one that we were actually bringing home to Greenwood, she had a lot of backlash from it. But at the end of the day, one, she didn't know what was going on.
Right.
And I'm the type of friend, if I go out with you and I have my ride, I'm not going to leave you at any taxi station.
Right.
I'm going to bring you home. The only way I'm going to drop you somewhere is if somebody's there waiting for you to bring you home. So there was nothing in that situation I would have done differently. I would have still brought everybody home. It doesn't matter where you live. And that was a responsibility that I thought I had because, one, I was initially going by myself.
Right.
And the friend that I was dropping at Greenwood, she saw that I was going and she said, do you want company? And I said, yeah, sure.
Right.
And then the other two friends, they missed their drive and they said to me, are you going to go to the event and can we come with you? And I said, okay. It wasn't unfamiliar faces.
Right.
It wasn't a situation where, you're trying to work things out and everything is against you and then it works out and then no, everything just went smoothly.
Right.
And if I told you that I felt a feeling that something bad was going to happen, nothing at all.
Okay. So we just have to leave it and let the Creator do. And would you believe in time? Do you believe in when it's your time, it's your time? Do you believe in that statement?
I do. I do believe in it. But I think God ramps a little bit too rough. Like, I get you want to put us on the strongest soldier list, but take us off. Give us a vacation, something.
Right.
I do believe everybody have their own time. Sometimes I feel very emotional about it because the way how people have to go.
Right.
Because we all understand that the end game is death.
Right.
But the way people have to go, sometimes I'm like, you could just let them just not wake up. So I do believe everybody has a time. I now believe it was not my time, but I still have unanswered questions because people always say purpose never dies. What does that really mean?
Right.
Because I do believe that I have a purpose. I don't know what it is, but I do believe that one of those purposes is to bring people to the house of God. I don't know the type of people, I don't know when, and I don't know what house of God, but within my heart, I do feel like I should be that type of person in the world that we're currently living in.
I definitely agree with you, and I would like to share a story. I think I mentioned it to you before. So my sister, she passed away, but before she passed away, she had some issues with her mobility, and she heard your story, and so she was working from home.
Okay.
And after hearing your story, she's like, what? Paralyzed on one side, blind in one eye. So what am I here doing with just a little knee issue? She called her job right after your story and said, I'm coming back to work on Monday.
Okay.
I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I want to push myself. Unfortunately, she died the day before, so she didn't get a chance. But I just want to tell you that even if it's one person, never stop telling your story. You're inspiring.
Thank you.
All right. Let's move on. Tell us more about the name British Bionic Babe.
Well, I suffered head trauma, as I said before, and I got a stroke which caused brain damage. So when I woke up in the hospital, a friend came to see me, and when she spoke to me, I had an American accent first. And then by the time she left, I had a Trinidadian accent, and the nurse is what actually said, your accent has changed. And then in a week, it was British, and it's been British ever since. So what I have is called foreign accent syndrome, and it's a neurological disorder that can cause your accent or your language to change. So I can wake up any day, any time of the year with a different accent or speak in a different language because of this brain damage, because I still do have a swelling on my brain. So the British comes from the accent,
right?
But I believe between 4.5 years to now, the accent changes when it feels like, and I don't think it sounds all that British all the time. And I've been told that when I'm emotional, the Jamaican chips in. But then when you say to me, can you say something in Jamaican? My brain is trying to process, what does that sound like? If I say this, is it the right thing? But that's how the British came. The bionic is because in my accident, I had a broken right hip, broken right pelvis, and a broken left femur. So basically, the bottom half is broken. So in order to be able to be mobile and to be fixed, my entire bottom half is metal. So currently, today, I have a full right hip because I did a full hip replacement, and I have full titanium in this left leg. So that's the bionic, and the babe is just because I'm a woman.
Wow. Wow. I could never tell by just looking at you.
A lot of people say it, and that's good because I'm happy that I'm seeing you and being with you at the best of me, because then I might smile, I might try to be positive, I put it out there because then I don't want people to pity me. But then on the inside, when everybody's gone and I'm all by myself, I have to sit down and I have to give myself a pep talk and say, DeanaraeLorraine, you're gonna be okay. Even when I feel like I'm never gonna be okay, because this is the best of me, even though it took 4.5 years. And I think patience is one of the biggest things of my situation. But if I tell you that I have not learned patience, I'm still very impatient, because then so many things are happening, and it's not like I had an accident and you're over it. And then, probably something might jog your memory about it. Every day I get up, I look in the mirror, I'm reminded, I had an accident, because I can only see out of one eye. Every time somebody says something to me and they're like, huh? I'm speaking English, but they can't understand what I'm saying. So I get a constant daily reminder that I was in a motor vehicle accident that changed my life. So I can't understand why people think my accident is stale, because it's my life. Every single day I look in the mirror, I try to be pretty. Well, not try, because that's a given, but I put my clothes on, I try to present myself a certain way. The bulge on my eye reminds me that you are in an accident. The fact that if I close my left eye, I literally cannot see anything. This is my everyday life.
Right.
So I'm still working on the patience part of it.
To be honest, I have that question in there too, because I've been following your journey, and I do see some of the comments, and your reaction about them saying your accident is stale. But guys, I just want to tell you, your story is your story. Don't put a time frame on your healing. You just have to use healthy ways to try to get through it. But there is never a time frame on, okay, when am I going to feel better? Don't let anybody pressure you into, okay, you need to be okay now. That's 4 years ago. Take your own time and heal through it. Do you? All right. So what advice would you give to someone who has had an accident and feels discouraged because it has either left them crippled or disabled or caused major damages?
I have such a long list I could give you. But the first thing is, I want to say, even though you don't believe it, that accident happened for a reason. And it's not a reason that you're going to get overnight. It's not a reason that you're going to get up and years from now or weeks from now, you're going to understand why it happened to you. What I can say, the first thing is that when you're in an accident or any trauma, because that's what I always tell people, even though your trauma might not be an accident like mine, all traumas felt the same way. And so we can use the same techniques and tips to get past that. When you go through a traumatic experience, you have to go through a grief process because you lost something. And in that grieving process, you have to actually accept what has happened to you, and you have to understand that it could have been worse. It always can be worse, because you always can die at any point. Even if you survived it, you can still die. So it takes acceptance. You also have to understand that even though you've lost something, you've gained something, because I gained my eyes being open to a lot of things. Especially, I was a people pleaser. And I grew up in a society, because I'm an 80s baby, even though I look this young, I'm an 80s baby. I grew up in a society where you have to kiss before you kick. And I didn't agree with that, but then you have to look at the greater good and the bigger picture. when my accident happened, I had to block 538 people from my WhatsApp. Because these were people, one, I interacted on a daily basis with, people that I've done business with, people that I had to shut up with my opinion and talk to them because the greater good. So when you're in a traumatic experience, understand that there's lessons to be learned. And the lesson that you need to learn is that you need to, one, depend on you always. People will be around, people will be supportive, but they will never understand what you're going through. And you also have to give yourself grace. Because if you sit down and you have survivor's guilt, if you understand that your life has changed, especially persons that became disabled, because I was immobile for 8 months. And I lived out once a month, twice a child. I could not raise this hand any at all. My mother had to roll me over onto a plastic on a bed to bathe me and then roll me back. And when my accident happened, I just turned 33. So I wasn't a child, and I'm a fit girl. So you have to give yourself grace. You have to understand that the right people will stick around and they will not ask questions. Because I had people that kept asking me every day, how are you feeling? Are you dealing with your mental? No, I'm not, because I don't want you around me, and I have to smile and nod and say, okay, I'm feeling good. But then what a lot of persons experience in their traumatic experience is they feel like they shouldn't be alive. And because what they're going through is so new and it is so unfamiliar, they feel like death might be the right answer. And it never is.
Right.
I tried it 3 times, and on those 3 different occasions, just in the nick of time, somebody found me. And it's not that situation where, oh, you're going to call somebody and tell somebody, this is what I'm going to do. I just did. So I made up my mind that this life was not for me, because at 33, who wants to live with their parents for the rest of their life? Because when I woke up, nobody said I would ever walk again. And so I thought about, okay, my life is done, because my ambition in life is always to be an educated, stay-at-home mom with a business. And that's my passion. And being immobile, waking up and not being able to feel anything, my dream is taken away. So what's my point to living? And you will go through those things, and it's a phase. And people need to understand that your phase, you need to feel it, you need to go through it, and you need to come out strong on the other end. Because at the end of the day, you could have died. Right. You always can die, and you did not. So you need to give yourself grace. You need to understand the situation that you're in. And another thing, especially for persons that went from mobility to immobility, all you need to do is to find the things that you can now do. You're no different from anybody else. It's just that the things that you enjoy, you have to find another way to do it that fits in with your current mobility issues. Because that's what I had to do. I had to move from a wheelchair to a crutches, to a cane, to back to a walker. And I still like to go out, and I still like to go to the river, and I still like to go to the beach, and I still like to dress up. And even though I couldn't do those things for myself, I found a way to do it in my state that I did. And it will give you some sort of fulfillment. Because then, if you watch my journey, it doesn't matter what I'm going through. I always smile through it. And it's not trying. It just comes naturally.
Right.
Because being in pain for 4.5 years with no pain management, hating when the rain falls because it feels like excruciating pain, has let me now appreciate not being in pain since October of last year. Now I love when the rain falls, and I felt like I would never be at this place. And even though mentally, a lot of people think that the physical part of my recovery is the hardest, the mental part is the hardest, because even now I get the discrimination. Even now, I have people telling me on a daily, I tell you, the internet is not a nice place. And you have to be strong. Because even though it's people that you don't know that give their opinion, when you're laying in bed at night, looking up in the ceiling, not able to sleep, these are the comments that replay in your head. And it makes you go to a place where you feel like you're inadequate. But then you have to remember, these people don't know you. They don't finance you. They don't feed you. You put it on the internet. Allow them to have the best part of their day by commenting on your video. But you have to be strong. And the strength will not come. It's not something that you're going to see. It's not something that is going to slap you in the face like reality. It's something that's going to gradually creep upon you, and it's going to hold you and comfort you. And you just have to be at a place to accept it.
Wow. Wow. You just said a whole lot. I could basically end right here because that's what I needed from you. The motivation, you know, telling them that, you know, keep going, give the strength. It's good to see you walking. Without any aids. I've seen you at a party before and you have your stick and you bubbling with the stick and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't even do that. So no, it's really good to see you walking. We won't touch every single thing that you said, but you know, thank you so much for sharing. As an independent woman, I think you did mention a few. How did you cope not working for a while? And how did you find the strength to pick up the pieces?
Okay, so when my accident happened, I did still have my job up to March of 2020 when COVID happened and the business had to be closed down. I was immobile, as I said, for 8 months. So on my immobility bed, I actually started a chocolate business and I started a shipping company. Mm-hmm. And so with the help of the persons that were in my support group at the time and my mother, those businesses were very successful until I decided that I was going to put more effort into my accounting business because I'm an accountant by profession. And so that business in itself grew as well. So since my accident, I have not physically worked for a company. I've done remote jobs, but I understand that everybody's not going to be a me.
Right.
And I got backlash even from my parents when I said, I want to start a chocolate business and a shipping business because they believe that you were just in a life-changing experience. You were just in a motor vehicle accident. You can't walk, recover.
Right.
I'm not that person. I like nice things.
Right.
So even though I'm not able to walk, I still want to go on Amazon and clear my cart. I still want to be able to watch my Netflix and pay for my Netflix. And so I had to find a way. And then I think it worked well that time because then it was COVID. So everything was now moved to online. So it made it easy for me to transition that way. But in a time like now where we're building back from COVID, what I suggest is that even if you don't start a business, find something that you like to do. Increase your hobbies, change your hobbies, because again, you have to change your hobbies to what your current situation is.
Right.
So you try to explore new things. I hated reading, but I learned that I have to now change my hobbies. So I hated reading, but now I have to read things that you like. So if it's a fiction, if it's a love story, read things that you like. I don't like to diet, but you have to eat healthier. So what I do, I make the smoothies that I like. So when you have to change who you are as a person and change the things that you like or dislike, try to put them in a way where they're satisfying to you.
I definitely agree with that. Just 2 more to go. Tell us about relationships. Did you give up on love after your accident? Did you ever feel less than a woman?
I did give up on love because who wants a disabled person? You know what I'm saying? And that was my thought. And because I thought that way, I was in a very broken emotional place. I allowed, because I had a relationship about a year and a half after my accident. And because I felt like I wasn't enough and I'm disabled, he came with the sweet words. He came with the things I thought I prayed to God for in a man. And because I felt not as confident as I do now, he managed to manipulate me to a point where I felt like if he doesn't love me, who is going to love me? So being somebody that was a newly disabled woman and then somebody likes me based on, because trust me, when I tell you that you're getting the best of me,
right,
physically too, you're getting the best of. I wasn't this cute 2.5 years ago. So I was in a position where I would just take anything. And that ruined me even more, because then at the point where I realized that he was not worth it, so much damage emotionally and mentally was there. But then the relationship that I'm currently in, makes me understand why it didn't work out with every single ex in the last life and this one, to be honest with you.
Right.
It's that situation, because then the partner that I had now has known me for 2 years before he actually spoke to me. And I was minding my own business in Fontana, and he came up and he said, "Hello, Miss British." And when people talk to me like that, I know you know me from social media, so I really don't take it, you know, as important. But if you call me by my government name now, I know you know DeanaraeLorraine. And he just said, "Hello, Miss British," and I just turned around and I said, "Hello." And when I turned around and I looked at him, it was this beam, like, oh my God. Because first of all, I'm not a person I'm not attracted to physicality. I'm a mental person, so you have to stimulate my brain. And just the way how he said my name, it intrigued me, like, I want to hear more of your voice. And then I'm a beard person, and he just, wow. So now, and I will say to you, it's been rough, because I'm used to being the alpha in my relationship. I'm used to being alpha but respected. I will push the man. I will build the man like build a bear. I will support you to the T. You have a dream, we're going to make it happen. But being submissive is not a DeanaraeLorraine at all. Right. But what I have learned with this relationship is that when you're with a man that leads, you automatically become submissive. And I automatically feel how I feel about him. So there's no tug and war. And now, even though I'm an alpha and he is an alpha, his alpha is here and mine is here. Right. And when he talks to me, it's like, stop. Right. It's not DeanaraeLorraine, you need to answer, you need to defend yourself. Right. So he's been somebody that inspires me, because he always puts my best foot forward and he's always thinking about me. So yes, I gave up on love until I met him. Right. I mean, he's not perfect, and he is a Jamaican man, but he's one of those few and far between Jamaican men that are good, and he's good for me. And I am eternally grateful to God that even though I'm on the strongest social list, my rewards are great. My rewards are great.
I'm so happy for you. and sometimes all you need is that support too, because even in some of your videos, I realize that he supports you there. So we all know him as Big Daddy. Hi, Big Daddy. Thank you for supporting my girl. Thank you for coming in her life. She needed you. And of course you needed her. Come on. Hello. All right. A little final question is very serious. I've watched the last 2 episodes of your YouTube channel, and you mentioned trying to get pregnant. Do you mind, you know, talking to the women in their 30s who may want to get pregnant, but it's just not happening? What's your thought process? How is that going? If you don't want it,
no, that's fine.
Okay.
You see, it's a little bit tricky for me because my situation is like way out there. But I guess persons can relate because I've had 7 miscarriages. I would have had 7 boys, including twin boys. Yes. And my pregnancies were in relationships that were long term, 2-year relationship, 6-year relationship, and so forth. So it's not 7 different men. Right. So I've gone through 7 miscarriages, and when a person goes through miscarriage, it's a traumatic experience. 7 times? I don't know why 7. And it's at a point where it's a human. You can see that's an actual child because I can tell you that they're all boys. And so I have that I have battled with. Right. Since my accident, they realized that 1, I was only born with 1 liver. Yes, I only have 1 liver. Also, I have a fibroid that's as big as a pear, and it's lodged in my fallopian tube. So, in order for me to now be on that journey to be a mom, I have to deal with my fibroid, and then I have to find a specific way of how to not have a miscarriage. Yes, I'm discouraged because I don't want to go through another traumatic experience like that, but I'm also encouraged because technology, the opportunities of different medical care, the opportunity of free information that you can read for yourself, understand your body, understand what is going on, and understand that having a child is not just about the conception, the finances. And I always said, and recently I've said to people, if you're not able to financially be a single parent, don't do it. And it may sound funny, but you are having a child, anything can happen to your partner. And so whatever that anything is, if it does happen, can you manage financially as a single mom or single dad? And then it's all about your mental space and your environment, because then the partner and how you feel and how they make you feel, all of these things come together. So at this point, to me, age is just a number.
Right.
If it is for you, it's going to happen, because 50-year-olds be having healthy babies, right? So I'm currently on a path to try and get rid of my fibroids without surgery. And then after I do that, then push myself in a position to try to conceive, because conceiving is not a problem, sticking is a problem. So there's things that are in place for that if I should, conceive. And again, I have to accept that I may not have a biological child, doesn't mean I'm never going to be a mom. And that's something you have to accept, because not having a biological child doesn't make you less of a woman.
That is so true. We have to go now, but if you want to hear more about DeanaraeRae's story, DeanaraeRae, tell them where they can find you, please.
Okay, so I'm on YouTube at British Bionic Babe. I'm also on TikTok and Instagram at DeanaraeLorraine. And everything that you need to know about my life and my lifestyle and what life has been is on any one of those social media platforms.
Thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Well, since you talk about your big daddy and your new love, Tokens Restaurant and Catering would like to offer you a dinner for two. Right, so we will definitely talk and arrange that.
Okay.
Fine dining, just you, private dinner, you and Big Daddy.
Thank you so much.
And we wish you guys all the best.
Thank you.
Sorry, we didn't have more time.
That's okay.
But thank you so much
for having me.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Real Issues Live with Crystal. Until next time.
Something good gonna happen.